was playing chess with my grandfather in my dark room. In the middle of the game, I looked at my parents and smiled, saying, "I'm playing with Grandpa." Their faces froze, and my father whispered in horror, "Your grandfather passed away before you were born." In that moment, a chilling sensation crept through my soul, and I realized I was trapped in a world of darkness, with no escape. My name is Leia, and this is my story. I never thought I'd be writing this, but I need to share what happened to me. What I'm about to tell you changed my life forever. From my earliest memories, chess was always a part of my life. I was 6 years old when I first learned to play, taught by my grandfather in my bedroom. He would visit every afternoon, his kind eyes twinkling as he set up that ancient chessboard he always brought with him. It was a beautiful piece, carved from dark wood with intricate patterns along its edges, though somewhat worn with age. "Remember, Leah," he would say, his voice gentle and patient. "Chess is like life itself. Every move matters, and sometimes the quietest moves are the most powerful." I can still hear the soft click of the pieces against the board as he taught me strategies that seemed to come from centuries of wisdom. My parents noticed my growing obsession with chess. They'd often find me in my room, deeply focused on games with grandfather. I'd hear them whispering outside my door sometimes, but I was too engrossed in our matches to pay attention. When I turned 10, they sent me to Blackwood Private Academy, a prestigious boarding school known for its academic excellence. Even there, grandfather would visit me. He'd appear in the school's library or the quiet corner of the garden where I'd practice chess, always ready with a new strategy to teach me. My skill grew exponentially. I became known as the chess prodigy of Blackwood, winning match after match. My grandfather's teachings were unlike anything my opponents had ever seen. While other players relied on standard openings and conventional strategies, I had moves that seemed to come from another era entirely. Everything changed during the inter-school championship in my final year. I was 18, and it was the most important match of my life. My opponent was a national champion, and we were locked in what seemed like an impossible position. Then I remembered one of grandfather's most unusual lessons. A knight move so counterintuitive, it seemed almost magical. I made the move. The room fell silent, then erupted in applause. I had won the championship with what the commentators called one of the most brilliant moves in scholastic chess history. Overwhelmed with joy, I announced, "This victory belongs to my grandfather. He taught me everything I know." When I returned home that weekend, still glowing with pride, I told my parents about the win and my grandfather's brilliant teaching. That's when my father's face changed, his expression shifting from pride to concern. "Leia," he said slowly, "I don't understand why you keep saying this. Your grandfather died 3 years before you were born." The world stopped. My blood turned to ice. "That's impossible," I whispered. "He's been teaching me chess since I was 6. He visits me at school. My mother reached for an old photo album, hands trembling. She opened it to a yellowed photograph. My grandfather, sitting at a chessboard, the exact same board I'd been playing with all these years. The date on the back, 1962. My parents' concern grew into terror as they witnessed the changes in me. My mother would place religious symbols outside my room, while my father spent countless nights researching rituals for protection against evil spirits. Once, I overheard them arguing softly about calling an exorcist, but they never followed through. Perhaps they realized it was already too late. Their attempts to separate me from chess, burning boards, banning the game, even trying to move to a new house, only strengthened my grandfather's hold. Each failed attempt left them feeling more defeated, their faces reflecting a deep sense of guilt and fear. They blamed themselves, unaware that they were powerless against a game that had begun long before my birth. That night, everything changed. The temperature in my room dropped dramatically. The chess pieces began moving by themselves, sliding across the board with horrible scraping sounds. In my mirror, I saw him for the first time as he truly was, a transparent figure, his kind eyes now hollow, his gentle smile now something else entirely. "You've learned well, my dear," his voice echoed, no longer warm but hollow and distant. "But now that you know the truth, we can begin the real game." Strange things started happening. Every night, I'd wake to find the chess pieces arranged in bizarre patterns, spelling out warnings I couldn't understand. Students at school began talking about seeing an old man in outdated clothes wandering the halls, vanishing when approached. My chess opponents started having nightmares about losing to an invisible player. I tried to stop playing chess, but the pieces would move by themselves, forcing me to play. Each game became more terrifying than the last, with stakes I didn't understand but could feel in my bones. I realized I wasn't just his student. I was part of a game that had been going on for decades. Finally, one night, I confronted him. "Why me?" I demanded. "Why did you choose me?" His form flickered in the moonlight. "Because, my dear, every king needs a queen. I've been waiting for someone worthy to continue my legacy. The game never truly ends. It just finds new players." I understood then. My grandfather hadn't just been teaching me chess, he'd been grooming me to take his place, to become part of whatever eternal game he was playing. But I refused to be just another piece on his board. I set up the board one last time, challenging him to a final game. "If I win," I said, "you leave, forever." We played for hours, maybe days. Time lost all meaning. The pieces moved like living things. The board seemed to pulse with ancient energy. Finally, using everything he'd ever taught me, I did the impossible. I checkmated the ghost who had taught me chess. But as dawn broke, and I expected him to fade away, he remained. His form flickered for a moment, then solidified, his smile colder than ever. "Well played," he said, his voice echoing with something far darker than pride. "But you misunderstood. Winning was never the way out. The game is eternal, Leia, and so am I." Years have passed, and he's always there, challenging me again and again, the game stretching endlessly into the night. I've tried to stop, but the board always reappears, the pieces arranging themselves, demanding my attention. Each match feels heavier, darker, as if the stakes grow with every move. Sometimes, in the silence of the night, I hear his voice murmuring strategies or mocking me for my hesitation. His laughter echoes, a constant reminder that there's no escape. The board is no longer just a game, it's a prison, and I am both its master and its captive.